What's up to all our listeners out there? This is the Sports Station for the week of October 1st as we bring you another week in sports. A couple great topics for us to talk about this week, more than a couple. I'm your host, Mark and Sarah. Thanks for tuning in. Joe Vasile, once again joining me. Hello, Joe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. And also a shout out to Dan Graham, the man who uploads this on YouTube. Credit to him. Mike Eccles, of course, will be here in a few minutes. And for once, Mike finished in first place, but he was not alone in that achievement this week. So hopefully he won't gloat. He'll spend 3 minutes on gloating rather than his usual 5. But we'll see. Mike, what are your thoughts on this week?
May I begin the gloating?
Absolutely.
No. Oh, I cannot begin?
Yeah, go right ahead. We'll get out of the way early.
Joe, I can't gloat only because things didn't go as well as I thought they were going to go with a couple of teams. Mm-hmm. I am, for the first time in 13 years, I feel the Patriots are in trouble.
I think we all agree on that. Yeah. Anyone who watched that Monday night game would be hard-pressed to disagree with you.
They are in big trouble.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Even Tom Brady came out and said, that we're not that good.
No,
we haven't played good in a long time, is what he said.
They've always been able to fill people in when they lose people. They can find somebody who's a perfect replacement. Mm-hmm. I'm almost thinking the Logan Mankins thing, they might have pulled the gun too early on that one.
We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see. It seems like maybe the magic's starting to run out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. After 13 years, yeah.
That's right. And that was that game that clinched the tie for me with Mike this week. I went Kansas City, he took New England. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Also, let's talk about the send-off that Derek Jeter got, probably the best case scenario for his final week other than the Yankees making the playoffs. A fantastic finish to his career. And that was where we were going to open the show until last night.
Instant classic.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
One of the best baseball games I think any of us have ever seen. Absolutely fantastic way to decide. And I think anyone who was against this whole wild card play-in game thing before, I think any doubters have to be silenced after the spectacle we saw.
Yeah, that was an absolutely... that's very nice. Mm-hmm. That was an absolutely fantastic game that we got the opportunity to see last night. One of the most strangely managed games I've ever seen by Ned Yost. But, of course, that is Ned Yost's reputation for being a head-scratching manager. But the Royals were an absolute terror on the bases. And really what helped to turn the tide in that game and what was perhaps one of the more overlooked things in the broad scheme of everything was Bob Melvin started Giovanni Soto because he has a good arm to try and neutralize that running game of the Royals. When he went down with an injury, after that, the Royals just went absolutely wild on the base paths and caused all kinds of havoc, and really that's what helped them win last night.
Oh, and it's such a shame. Such a great performance by John Lester.
Oh, yeah, Lester was fantastic.
Very gutty, super gutty.
I don't know if I'd have sent Lester out for that 8th inning, though. I think at that point, if you're Bob Melvin, you're up 7-3, go to your bullpen and just try and shut this down rather than send Lester out again for the 8th inning. I understand Lester probably wanted to stay in the game, and you can't blame him for it. He really settled down after a rough start, but that's something where you might want to second-guess Bob Melvin a little bit, sending Lester out in that situation.
I think it's a fair point, but by the same token, you saw Shields get taken up by the Royals maybe too early. And that's really would put the Royals behind the 8 ball.
Well, that was...
And Lester's their horse.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what you got him for, is to pitch, to throw 115 pitches in these games. But I think, hindsight's 20/20, but that is a fair point. It certainly looked like he got left in a little too long.
But even the Shields thing, that was part of the strange managing by Ned Yost that I was alluding to. I have no problem with pulling Shields at that juncture of the game.
Yeah.
But at that point, you've got a 3-2 lead. It's the 6th inning. Why on earth are you putting in Yordano Ventura? A guy who pitched, a starting pitcher who is a rookie, who has never relieved before, in that situation, pitched 2 days before and threw 71 pitches in that start, when you've got arguably the best bullpen as far as guys you put in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings in baseball. And as far as I'm aware, there's no rule that prevented Ned Yost from using any of those guys in the 6th inning. Or you've got Brandon Moss at the plate, who's already having a nice night.
What a night.
You've got a lefty out in the bullpen in Danny Duffy, and the other guy, I forget his name, who pitched fantastic. The lefty who was in the College World Series.
Earlier this year.
You got Finnegan
Brandon
out in the
Finnegan.
bullpen, who apparently is very, very good. You've got Danny Duffy, who's a good situational lefty. Why not bring them in to face Brandon Moss instead of leaving Ventura in? It was very strange. Not going to open up the can of worms. That's all the sacrifice bunts. But I found that move a little bit strange by Ned Yost. Obviously, it didn't end up hurting them too much in the end because they ended up winning the ball game. But you got to imagine that at some point, if he keeps making moves like that, it's going to come back to bite him at some point.
If the Royals don't come back from down 7-3, he hears about the James Shields thing for 6 months, for 7 months.
Yeah. And really, it's not fair for Ventura either to put him in that situation because, Royals do end up to lose that game. Now he's going into the offseason after a very nice rookie year where he pitched fantastic, and he's got that to think about for the next 5 months.
Adversity like that is something that everyone overcomes.
Sure.
And I have to see the sentimental value of last night. When George Brett was interviewed early on in the game, it kind of hit me in the head. When I was growing up, it was always Yankees-Royals. And, of course, the Royals, especially after George Brett became a starter, they were there every year, 76, 77, 78.
Oh, yeah.
80,
what was it?
Went to the World
early
Series.
80s, 85, when they won the World Series.
Years they were in the playoffs.
And then all of a
something
sudden, it's been 29 years.
Yeah.
And I saw all of those great crowd shots that TBS provided last night. And for every one of those people with the beer belly, the 50-something-year-old guy who's been waiting all this time, even the 30-year-old who was in diapers the last time the Royals and now is bringing his son to the game.
Oh, yeah, just example, Joe, if you and I were Royals fans, we would have never experienced a Kansas City Royals playoff game until last night.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Ever. And I felt really good for those people. And it seemed to me, and maybe you guys will disagree with me, I don't know. It seemed to me that the fans willed that victory. We are not leaving it. No, I spent 29 years waiting to watch this game. I'm not leaving unless the Royals win this playoff game. That's the way it seemed.
It really was a game between two, in very different ways, tortured fan bases. Because the Royals, you mentioned, haven't been in the playoffs in forever, whereas the A's are the team that couldn't get over the hump, that had their heart broken the last couple of years in the division series. And you feel horrible for the A's and their fans today coming off that game because it looked like they had it in the bag twice. And they let it slip away both times. And it's going to be another long offseason for Billy Beane. And look at the prospects and people he gave up, the Cespedes and, again, Addison Russell and Billy McKinney, who we keep going back to. And then you look at the finished product, which isn't all his fault. I mean, he went all in. No one could have predicted these moves were going to turn out. The fact, I mean, they were lauded by everyone when he made them. So the fact that people are killing him now for making them, I think, is absurd.
I think it's absurd as well. And a couple of points on Beane. First, on the trades, I agreed with the trades at the time. I still agree with the trades now. You look at the way that John Lester performed in Oakland, and you look at what the numbers that Cespedes put up in Boston. They're absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Cespedes, I think he hit .269 with an on-base percentage under .300. He hit 5 home runs as a member of the Red Sox.
And everyone was
John
talking about
Lester pitched to a 2.35 ERA with Oakland. So to kill him for that move,
well, I think it's more
really
the Samardzija Hamel move.
But you know what? I
the
like
A's don't make the playoffs, then you question Beane.
I agree.
But the A's did make the playoffs, so I
they
agree with
sort
what
of
Joe
made
just
the
said.
playoffs.
And
I don't really count this as making the playoffs.
Oh, yes, it is. There's a lot more
playoffs.
teams in Major League Baseball than ever before. If you can be one of the 5 teams
It's
in
a playoff.
your league,
It's not playoffs. It's playoff
it's
singular.
postseason.
It's not
Either way.
plural.
it's postseason.
Yeah, but it's not really.
Look,
It's
on
not
the
really an
on the
accomplishment, though.
field
Mark,
last night.
how
Mark,
many other teams would have loved to have
Mark.
been in their place last
How
night?
many other teams would have loved to have lost in the wild card game?
No,
I don't think
just
it makes a
because
huge
they got
difference.
there.
Mark.
Yeah.
On the field
It's
last
like
night.
the
On the
play-in
field last
game. It's like the
night.
playing game in the NCAA
it's
tournament.
Not really a
On the
playoff
field
game.
last-
Oh my goodness!
It's not
Mark,
really a
Did I
playoff.
really sound like that?
Mark, on the field last night, it said MLB playoffs.
Yeah, but it's not really playing. It's
The
not
league
a, it's not a
considers it the
series.
playoffs. It's the
It's
playoffs.
a one-game
It's not really
playoff
a
to
playoff.
get into the playoffs.
So 2 more games.
So you
would make
think?
it
So you think
would make it
playing
legitimately
in one of the
playoffs?
playing games, the NCAA
You know what, we're
tournament
getting
really
off
counts
topic.
as
We're
the
getting off
NCAA
topic.
tournament?
I will say
That's
this,
fair,
guys.
we are.
I will say this because I am a very strong proponent of this. I love this game because if there's one thing that's different than with Major League Baseball than some of the other, especially football, is that there's always a best of 5, a best of 7, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love a one game.
Yeah.
One game.
And
winner
in the
goes
end-
on, loser goes home, and the excitement, the adrenaline, every single pitch is important, and I love those kind of games.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, the second point that I wanted
Yeah.
to make about Billy Bean.
It's not really a playoff.
Was,
Oh my goodness, it's the worst
was-
impression of me ever.
Before the game yesterday on one of those ESPN debate shows, they were saying, "Oh, is tonight's game gonna solidify Billy Bean's legacy?"
Stop it.
And I saw that, and I just went, "Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're gonna say that his entire legacy, everything he's done, is going to ride on a one-game playoff because he made a couple of trades at the deadline this year?"
I think that we can safely agree that that the movie Moneyball was really cemented his legacy.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt. I mean,
that-
come on.
and
But
that
you
movie-
don't get any higher than that.
And that movie wasn't even really that true to what happened.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
was completely untrue. It was
Yeah.
complete. They never talked about Zito or Hudson or Tejada
Chavez.
or
Okay,
Chavez.
uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
It was all David Justice and Scott Hatterberg.
Yes.
I'll put those arguments aside, but what it was, he's completely changed the way that front offices operate. He's completely changed the way that baseball operates. And to say that, because he's never won in the playoffs completely invalidates anything he's done.
They're always
is
getting
the
there.
most ludicrous argument. And
Well, I mean, the example is Branch Rickey never won a World Series. He won one with the Cardinals. He never
won
won a
one in
World Series with the
55.
Dodgers. He
The
wasn't there.
Dodgers
He was
won in
gone
50.
by
That's
55.
That's right.
But you can never say he wasn't a pioneer in baseball
No,
for the
no.
things he did in
And-
pioneering farm systems and things like that. People know him with the Dodgers, which is where he didn't win a title, not for the Cardinals.
And my favorite thing is, as far as that all goes, is I got a great opportunity about a year ago to interview Bill James. And I asked him, what do you say to people who say that sabermetrics doesn't work in the playoffs? And he just said to me, he said, well, I don't really have to say anything. I've got 3 World Series rings that prove that pretty wrong. I don't have to prove nothing. That's what he said. So Billy Bean might be the most famous and most notable person, but every single team is using it. And it's not like, the A's never won in the playoffs, so therefore everything he's done and everything he stands for is completely moot.
I'm sorry.
It's
If you
ridiculous.
get there, that validates.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Royals obviously moving on, A's going home, and now the Royals move on to face the LA Angels, and that's where we will start our playoff preview with that series between Mike Trout and his Angels and Eric Hosmer and the Royals, guys. Now, what are your thoughts on this series?
Well, number one, this is going to be a great series to introduce to America the man who will take over the mantle from Derek Jeter as the face
that's a
of
fair
baseball.
point. I mean, wait, it's
is
not
Mike
David
Trout.
Wright?
I think it was David Wright versus Eric Sogard in the finals.
Eric
That should tell you all-
Sogard.
That should tell you all you need to know about.
That's
about
a
how
face
that
made
went.
for radio, just like ours, a Sogard. But no, I think that Trout is going to have a dynamite series. They're going to trounce the Royals. I'm glad the Royals are there, but this Angels team right now, I don't see how anybody stops them from not winning the World Series. I can't see it. I can't see anybody stopping the Angels from being World Series champions.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if anybody could stop them from being World Series champions. I mean, there's a lot that could happen in between now and then, but I do agree that you got to look at this series with the Angels being the favorite to go ahead and win it. Not only did they not have to play that 12-inning play-in game and burn a bunch of pitchers and position players,
They will
doing
have a
so,
day off in between.
But
Today the Royals have off. Tomorrow the series starts. But
but their rotation set up a little bit better. They can get better matchups.
For sure.
But the Angels, unlike the Royals, can kind of hit, and I think that the Angels pitching is good enough that it can stifle whatever bats Kansas City decides to have in whatever game. I gotta like the Angels. You don't bet too much against Mike Trout unless he's going up against Miguel Cabrera for the MVP.
Well, Joe, the Royals hit 263 as a team this year. Angels hit 259.
Go take a look at their home run totals.
Well, I'm just saying. You can't say they can't hit. Maybe they don't have as much. They don't have as much power. I would never debate that with you. But they're not. It's not like they're gonna. They're not
Look,
the.
you
what
can
if the
sit
Angels
there and
been-
get singles all day long. It's
Right. What
not
if the-
necessarily going to translate into runs.
What have the Angels
That's a
been
fair
hitting
point.
in the
Some
last
power.
30
Angels
days?
don't have a single 20 home run guy. No one with 80 RBIs in the team. So
Who?
yeah.
The Royals.
Royals, my
The
mistake.
last 30 days, what have the Angels hit? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay.
They finished hot.
Well, see, I
that's
agree
true.
with you guys. I like the Angels to win this series probably in 4 games. My only concern is going forward with the Angels is they don't really have, I mean, say what you will about Jared Weaver, but he didn't have a fantastic year this year. They don't really have a dynamite number 1 pitcher, which is, and I mean, I don't think that'll affect them this series because I don't think the Royals pitching is much better. And as you mentioned, Joe, without their rotation being set up, I think that's going to hurt them. And going forward, the Angels' rotation makes me a little nervous.
Well, I have to tell you, and I'm going to date myself because I am the old guy.
Okay.
It reminds me of the 75 Reds.
Really?
Where they didn't have that name
That's
in
fair
the starting
point, yeah.
rotation.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
I
they've
couldn't
got
think
the
of a single pitcher from that team.
Don
Well,
Gullett.
there was Don Gullett, Fred Norman, Jack Billingham,
Oh,
wow.
Pat
Jack
Zachary. I mean,
Billingham.
these are guys that were never really going to do anything.
Pat Zachary, I know.
Pedro
Pat
Borbon.
Zachary, he was part of that legendary Mets lineup of 1979. Did they win 50 games that year?
I think they got
Under
close.
Joe
They got
Torre.
close. Well,
Joe
you know,
Torre was their manager, I
how,
think.
how Pat Zachary got to the Mets.
Oh, it was the Doug Flynn trade.
Yeah, the Doug Flynn trade.
The Doug Flynn trade, yes.
Yeah, and
With Steve Henderson and-
The Seaver deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the Seaver deal.
yes, and I also like to throw in a dozen balls and a couple of uniforms as well.
Yeah.
But
Worth
yeah,
as
so
much
this-
as Steve
only for
Henderson
Tom
these
Seaver.
days.
This Angels
Yeah.
team definitely reminds me of that 75 Reds team is that there's no pitcher who distinguishes themselves, but they don't have to.
That's a fair
Well,
point. I think
with
we're
a
all
lineup-
excited to see Mike Trout
Yes.
playing in these playoffs for the first time.
Yeah, with a lineup like what the Angels can put out there,
And-
especially now getting Hamilton back, I do like their chances.
Do not ever count out Albert Pujols.
Oh, I don't think anyone will. And
No.
he's got a ton of playoff experience. Factor that in too.
What were Pujols' final numbers this
I got it
season?
in front of me. 272 with 28 and 105.
Out of a 34-year-old, I'll take it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. 105, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay, so second division series in the American League, the Baltimore Orioles
Yep.
with home field advantage against Justin Verlander, although he's probably not the headlining pitcher on that staff anymore. And series will start tomorrow, as we're taping this on Wednesday, October 1st, Joe.
Well, this is a tough series because as good as I thought the Detroit Tigers were going to be coming into this season, they really showed that they are a lot more of a vulnerable team than really they've shown in the last couple of years.
I would agree with you on that.
I would say that, you got a great season out of Rick Porcello. You got a great season again out of Max Scherzer. But you saw Justin Verlander come down a little bit. You saw the offense as a whole kind of come down a little bit, although Victor Martinez had an incredible season.
Oh, yeah.
And Miguel Cabrera was Miguel Cabrera.
and
though to a
J.D.
bit of
Martinez
lesser
had a breakout
extent.
year. Yeah.
J.D. Martinez, there's still some punch in the lineup, maybe not as much as there was a year or two ago.
I mean, hey, they led the league in batting average,
Yeah.
on base percentage, slugging, and obviously OPS.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to pitch enough in this series. Outside of Max Scherzer,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I really
And
trust.
coming into this
much with
postseason,
team.
did you think that you'd be saying about the Detroit Tigers? I don't know if they can pitch enough,
no.
but it's a fair point. It's true, and I agree with you,
And
I agree
look-
with him on that, Mike.
I call for a sweep, guys.
Yeah, and you know what
It's a clean Baltimore sweep.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's something.
Baltimore, and I'm telling you right now, the most underrated manager in baseball is Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
I did not like losing him after the 95 season. Granted, Joe in
I think
hindsight
you're
is
okay with
2020.
it now, though.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
that he left
But
now.
yeah, what you're
but
saying is-
I was very
Yeah.
upset when the Yankees got rid of him after 95. I liked what he had done as that team grew. I love what he's done with this Baltimore
Yeah.
team. I didn't believe in him in August, Baltimore.
Yeah, no. you
And they
didn't.
have now really come through. They are too strong a batting lineup for Joe, what you
Yeah.
pointed out. Very fragile Detroit Tigers team right now.
Yeah.
And I think the Orioles are going to just pound them with their bats, and it's a sweep.
And you know what? I don't even know if it's really so much the Tigers' starting rotation that's the problem. I think it's the bullpen. You look at that Joe Nathan this year. I mean,
yeah,
Jabba
no,
Chamberlain
I
is in
agree.
that bullpen.
yeah.
Point. Case in
Jabba!
point. Case in point.
But the sad
Jabba
part-
Chamberlain.
The sad part is Jabba Chamberlain was one of their best relievers
Yeah.
this season outside of Al Albuquerque. I mean,
But
he had
he's
to
still
throw
the
the
ugliest.
ugliest.
If you're trying to be
reliever they
funny, it's
All right,
Albuquerque.
all right.
It's not Al Albuquerque.
I mean, but
all right?
I mean, Joe Nathan had an ERA of almost 5
5,
this year.
yeah.
They got
No,
Phil
I
Coke out
agree.
there, but
you look at Baltimore's bullpen. They had Zach Britton and
Yeah.
Darren O'Day, whose ERAs were both under 2. too.
Yep.
Tommy Hunter had a good year, and Madison Webb, and you throw in Brad Branch and T.J. McFarland, all of whom were dependable guys. And Andrew Miller has been fantastic ever since they got him from Boston. 1.35 ERA.
Yeah, Andrew Miller has been phenomenal. He's had a great season, both in Boston and now also in Baltimore.
And Chen, Tillman, Norris, and Gonzalez have been fantastic in the second half of this rotation, guys. Like this pitching staff, like the Detroit Tigers are actually outclassed when it comes to pitching in this series.
Yeah, I don't want
Baltimore's pitchers are outstanding.
I don't want to look past the Tigers because they are the Detroit Tigers. But right now, I'm looking towards an Angels Baltimore championship series that's going to be dynamite.
Mike, I'm 100% agree with you on that.
I think we all are. We're all in agreement on that.
I think the Tigers win one game because I think this team is too good. Their hitting is too good not for them to squeeze out one game, and their pitching is not horrible.
Yeah,
it's just not as good.
Right.
But yeah, I think we can all agree the Orioles will be in the ALCS, which of course means now it'll be a Tigers Royals ALCS.
Of course,
we all agree.
Well, because
exactly.
we've come to a consensus.
All right. National League. Obviously, we don't know who's going to play in one National League series because we're doing this the evening before the wild card game, the evening of before they play it. But we do know that L.A. and St. Louis will play in one National League Division series, which obviously starts on Friday. So, Mike, St. Louis, L.A., who do you like, sir?
Boy, I tell you what, a tough call only because the Cardinals have the experience. But I think any time you have the possibility of putting out Kershaw twice, you win your series.
Okay. It would be impossible to disagree with that. Kershaw has been, as good as he's been in previous years, he's been better this year. Like he was
so good
16-9, I think, last year. He's 21-3 this year.
He's just if he's going to face you twice in a series, you're losing both games.
And the great thing about this, we already mentioned this about Trout, but living on the East Coast as we do, we don't get to see much Clayton. Like I don't think I've watched Clayton Kershaw pitch more than a few times in my life.
You got to stay up late, young man.
I'll try.
MLB and ESPN
I'm loaded up on the Red Bulls
does
and
help
caffeine.
us out a lot. And Fox Sports 1, the only problem is every game always starts our time at 10:30.
Yep.
So,
I mean, isn't there a way LA could get, whoever's
Switch
broadcasting
time
this game, could get Vin Scully to do these games? Because, wouldn't that be better than throwing some guy out there who hasn't watched the team for the whole season?
no, we got to put somebody out there who's a friend of the network.
Ernie Johnson, Chip Carey. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Or even that guy.
Base hit, caught out there.
I agree with you. That guy who interviewed George Brett last night, the way he was
Matt
coming
Weiner.
across, he sounded like he only knew things about George Brett because he researched it 10 minutes before he
On
sat down next to him.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Joe, who do you got on this series?
Once again,
Sorry, Mike, you like LA?
Oh, yeah, I like the Dodgers.
All right, Joe.
I like LA as well because it's not only you've got Kershaw, but you got Greinke backing him up. And that is just a deadly 1-2 punch right at the top. I think that the Cardinals kind of overachieved a little bit this year. I don't know if they're as good as their record says they are, and I know that goes against what Bill Parcells likes to preach. But I don't think that they were necessarily as good as their record said. And I think that the Dodgers are overall a much better team.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could look at the Cardinals and say, and it's true. The Cardinals have not hit this year as they had in previous seasons. And, I mean, that's something that you can't help but notice in this team. My only thing about this series is that now, obviously the teams are different than last year, but the Cardinals beat Kershaw twice last season in the NLCS, and they topped the Dodgers in 6 games. And this Cardinals team always seems to find a way to make some noise in the postseason.
That was last year.
And this Dodgers team, I'm not a huge Adrian Gonzalez fan. Now, he had a great postseason last year. It's a given. But if you look back at his time in Boston, he doesn't seem to be a guy who enjoys playing under too much pressure. And Puig is still Puig. He's still the guy who makes a few head-scratching plays every once in a while.
I have to tell you, though, one thing that did impress me about Gonzalez was last year, if anybody remembers this, during the World Baseball Classic, he was at the center of that big bench-clearing brawl between Mexico and Canada. And I was because remember, Mexico had very few Major League stars on it. But he was one of them. And he got himself involved. Like, I'm the guy making $15, $18 million a year. I don't need to get involved. No, he did.
Yeah.
And he showed me a lot. So I have confidence that there's going to be a little something inside of him that wants to win this.
I think it's a fair point, but you look at the Cardinals pitching staff. Now, obviously, Kershaw and Greinke are great, but Cardinals still have Wainwright, who won 20 games, and Lance Lynn. I like the Cardinals to pull the upset in 5.
Oh.
I think you go back to 2010. You go back to 2010 where the Cardinals made the playoffs. They faced a Phillies team that had Halladay, Lee, Hamels, and Oswalt in a series no one expected them to win, and they stole it in 5. I think similar thing happens here. I mean, like I said, this Cardinals team is not afraid of Kershaw. They beat him a couple times last year. I think the Cardinals, like I said, they always seem to find a way to do something in the postseason. They don't often go quietly.
Joe, is this 2013 or 2014? 2014.
Okay.
This is the Clayton Kershaw of 2014.
Okay, that's fair, but I think the Cardinals, this team has all the postseason experience in the world. And plus...
And that and $1.50 will get him a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I think well, we'll see. When we come back here next week, we'll see what it got him.
$1.50.
We have
It used to be 50 cents. My
Well,
God,
yeah.
where do you buy your coffee?
Times have changed. Times have changed.
Thought about this earlier today, and I've heard this on the radio. Mattingly obviously managing the Dodgers. You could have a Don Mattingly managed Dodger team against Buck Showalter managed Oriole team in the World Series this year. I think a lot of people expect that to happen, but that would be a very interesting series from the Yankee fan perspective.
From a Yankee fan perspective, the only problem is that, boy, you know that Angel Baltimore World Championship Series looming ahead, if it does happen, could be a very exciting one.
I think it's going to be great.
Really
yeah.
good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now we have Pittsburgh and San Francisco playing tonight. Winner plays Washington. Do you see either one of these teams strong enough to get by the Nationals? Because I don't.
As a Mets fan, having seen the Nationals absolutely beat up on the team that finished in second place in the NL East all season long, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I have a bit of a skewed perspective on
the
the
Braves?
Nationals. No, the Mets.
The Marlins?
The Mets.
The Mets finished in second place?
Yeah.
Tied
They'll
with
be
the Braves for second place.
A team that's only going to get better,
Lucas
Mike.
Duda get 30 home runs this year?
And Granderson hit 20.
Yes, he did.
Granderson had 20
yes,
too.
he
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So, Mike, do
And
you like the Nationals? Do you think anyone beats the Nationals in
No.
the division series, whether
Although
it's Pittsburgh or San Francisco?
I think Pittsburgh wins the game tonight. They take the Nationals to the full. I think it's 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the
Really,
Nationals taking it 5.
I think Nats sweep.
Wow. Well,
All right.
interesting.
And who are your All right, dive right into it. Who are your World Series picks? I want to hear them.
World Series pick is Nationals lose to the Angels.
All right.
I have a hard time picking the Nationals to get there, so I'm going with the Dodgers out of the National League. For the American League, the Angels. I see an all LA series, a freeway series.
Dodgers,
this year.
Angels. Okay.
And I will refrain from picking a winner until next week. All right,
come
all right.
It's a pick'em. The World
Yeah,
Series.
yeah. It's a toss-up. Flip a coin. It's a pick'em. No, I'll take. Let's give it a Mike Trout and the Angels.
All
Okay.
right.
I like Nationals over the Orioles. I think we got a Delmarva sort of series there.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
you like
Washington.
so you like a Beltway series, and I
Yeah.
like a freeway series.
Yes. Well, I think the Beltway series was when the Royals played the Cardinals in '85.
that's
No,
the
that was the
I-70.
Show Me series.
Oh,
that was
okay.
the I-70 Show Me series.
Yeah, well, because you get the Beltway there between
Okay.
Baltimore.
So
and
with
DC.
that, we go from the teams who are playing to a player on a team that is no longer playing. Mike's
Yes.
getting choked up.
Shed your tears, Mike.
Getting a little misty.
Joe's getting apathetic.
Yeah.
We all have our different emotions.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter's last few games and the finale. I don't know if you guys watched the game. I'm sure you guys probably did watch the game at Yankee Stadium, his final game.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go into the top of the 9th inning with a 3-run lead, and you probably figure, I was surprised that Girardi didn't take Jeter out, but it sure looked like a smart move in hindsight.
Oh, and you could tell Girardi was going to send somebody out there.
Really? 'Cause
The way it happened during the All-Star game, when I think it was Infante or
Alexi Ramirez.
Ramirez
got
sent out for Jeter.
Omar Infante.
I couldn't remember who it was.
That's okay.
He was an all-star.
Yeah, he was an
in
all-star, wasn't he?
2012.
Yeah,
Who
Infante
knows?
was. Yeah.
Who knows?
But anyway, so
That's
I
a
thought that
funny
Girardi
story.
was ready to do that, and then he started to see what was happening, and he just restrained.
Refrained?
Excuse
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I'm a
He
professor.
had to be restrained.
He
no.
did
He
restrain.
refrained from doing it, and we're all lucky he did.
Oh yeah, and I had the same thought. I had that thought when it was getting to when the Orioles hit that home run because it looked very anticlimactic when it was 5-2 and Robertson was on the mound. That it looked like it was going to be. This is kind of whatever.
And I loved Mariano's quote after the game. Here's Robertson. Isn't this just Derek Jeter's
Oh,
night?
yeah.
Here's Robertson, who's done a great job all year,
Sort
and then
of.
he blows it in the ninth inning on Jeter night to give Jeter the
Well,
opportunity
yeah.
of
What was
hitting
his
the winning
quote?
run. It was something like it was like
He said because
Something along those
Robertson
lines.
because the year that the game that Jeter had his 3,000th hit when he went 5 for 5 and his last hit won the game essentially. Robertson had given up a lead that tied the game, and that put Jeter in the position to drive in the go-ahead run in that situation. And then in this game, he gives up the lead, and Jeter, of course, gets the walk-off hit, and Rivera says to him, "You're the best setup man in the league," because he set up both of those moments by blowing those saves. Yeah, but that was, I mean, an absolutely incredible moment, and such a fitting way for Jeter's career to end with another clutch hit, of course, to right field, because where the hell else would it have gone?
he loves that opposite field stuff.
He always did.
Of course, we're two Yankee fans talking about this. I don't want to leave you out, Joe.
No,
I mean,
an outsider's perspective, I'd like to hear.
I also remember, when the Mets finally had their final game with Bobby Bonilla, and how heartbreaking it was for the Mets to say goodbye to Bobby Bo.
They're not saying goodbye to him for another 20 years.
Well, the thing is,
he's on the payroll till 2035.
Bobby Bonilla's final game in the Mets was the NLCS when he was in the clubhouse playing poker with Ricky Henderson.
Yeah. Now, I'll preface this entire thing by saying I'm very well aware that I am in the minority in this whole thing.
That's fine.
I'm absolutely sick and tired of hearing about Derek Jeter. I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
It was this whole season with Jeter was such a ridiculous farce.
Oh,
this whole
how is it a farce?
Okay.
What, do you compare it to when the Mets said goodbye to Craig Swan?
No.
Is that what you're talking
Or
about?
Ed Kranepool?
Okay. Mostly what it is everybody treating Jeter like he's a saint or something.
Are you going full Keith Olbermann on us now?
Oh, I've been going full Keith Olbermann on Derek Jeter
this
for
is such
5
a joke.
years.
Mike, did you hear? Oh, okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, we have to talk about this because nothing made me laugh harder in the last couple of weeks than what Olbermann said.
Oh, he's an idiot.
No, it was spot on. It was absolutely spot on.
Stop it.
Oh, stop
Wait a
that.
second. You saying this was spot on?
Yes.
What are you smoking? It was spot on. He said that Greg Nettles and Thurman Munson and Willie Randolph are better Yankees than Derek Jeter. Tell me when Willie Randolph's getting his plaque in Cooperstown.
And
I'd
I
like
lived
to be
during
there.
that era, and Thurman Munson was my favorite player growing up. But I know that Derek Jeter did things that even
Greg
Munson...
Nettles was a .250 hitter in his good years.
Okay. Are we done?
Am I done being right? No.
No. I'm saying that Derek Jeter, first of all, was never the best player in baseball when he played, and you can only legitimately make a case.
How many Hall of
for
Famers were the best
one
player
season,
in baseball?
And you can only make a legitimate case for one season that he was even the best player at his own position.
Hold
there
on
was
a second.
a good stretch where he wasn't the best shortstop
There was
in
one
New York.
year when he should have won.
Yeah,
wait,
2006.
Whoa, he wasn't the best shortstop in New York?
From 2007.
All right.
Oh,
You have lost all credibility
From
on this topic.
2007 until 2011, Derek Jeter was the second
that is
best shortstop in New
joke.
York.
That is absurd.
Jose Reyes was
No,
better.
he wasn't.
From 2007 to 2011, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why that's why he got that's why he left.
For those no, he
that's
left
why the
because,
Marlins traded him because he was such a good player.
No, he left because the Mets didn't have the money to re-sign him
I'm
because
sorry,
they lost all their money.
I just woke up. We're talking about the Mets.
And Bernard
the Mets
Madoff.
finished in second place in their division this year. Isn't
Well,
that
yeah,
amazing?
Mike, that's not what we're
Higher than the
talking
Yankees,
about,
amazing?
though.
isn't it?
Well,
that's
the
not
Yankees
what we're
finished
talking
second
about?
place with a better record.
That's
So
good for them.
that's-
Yeah, and about what 3 times the amount of payroll,
So?
and about the same amount of runs
Yeah,
scored.
how dare they spend the money that the fans give them?
What puts me to sleep quicker? Reading War and Peace or listening to someone rail about Derek Jeter?
Listening to Keith Olbermann.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is such a joke, Joe. You come on.
No, you know
this
what's
is
a
absurd.
joke? You know what's a joke? The way that Derek Jeter's getting treated
He's
is
probably
it's a
one
joke.
of the best shortstops of all time.
And the thing
Most
that angers
hits
me
ever
the
by a
most.
shortstop, 6th all
I
time.
don't care.
And then you're wrong. Well, then
I
you're
do not care.
Then you're a
Mark,
fool.
Do you see Joe's his phone? He just
Yeah.
got another tweet from KO. Miss you. When are you coming by later?
You're
okay?
a fool, Joe.
I don't care how many singles Derek Jeter got in his career.
Yeah, because it's so easy to do that.
I don't care how
This is such a
bad of a
joke.
defender he was in his career.
So what?
I don't care how many hits he got in the postseason. I'm not going to give him credit because his team's always made the playoffs.
So what? Yeah,
Because he played for the
in large
Yankees.
part because of him.
Not in large part. In
Yes.
part.
200 hits in
because
how
of
many
him.
seasons?
Mark, this is
how
what
many years
happens.
over
Not in large
300?
Mark,
Yeah.
when you're a child and the biggest thrill you have is getting your picture taken with a Mr. Met, this is what eventually happens when you become an adult.
Okay?
This is absurd, man. You can't seriously tell me he's not one of the best hitters of all time.
And the whole, I'm not saying he wasn't a great player. He's a great player.
Well,
He's
why
a
are
Hall
you getting
of Fame
so?
player.
How can you get this worked up about
because
him?
it's ridiculous.
How? How is it ridiculous?
The whole thing
One
is
of the
ridiculous.
faces of the game, one of the role models one of the best role models baseball's
Because
had.
nobody
in a
deserves
period of
a
time.
Don't go
retirement
that
tour.
far, Mark. He was
What's
no
that?
Rusty Staub. All right.
Okay, nobody deserves a retirement tour the way that he did.
Chipper
It's a
Jones
sick-
got one.
He didn't
Mariano
deserve
Rivera
one.
got one.
He didn't
Based on
deserve
what?
one.
Based on what?
Because it's a selfish thing to do.
How is it selfish? He
How is it
demanded.
selfish? He made the
all
whole
these
season
teams
about
gave.
himself.
No, he didn't. All these teams
Yes, he
gave him
did.
things. He announced his retirement. What's he supposed to do?
If he was
Say
a
to
team-
every team, "I'm not accepting gifts.
If
Leave
he-
me alone."
He could say that, yeah.
How
if
would
he
that
cared
have-
about that, if he wanted to do it with class and
Yeah,
be
right.
dignified,
It's
do all this
class.
other stuff
Teams are
that
giving
everybody
him
always
things.
says,
Teams are
he'd have
giving
waited
him
until the
things
end of the
that doesn't
season
have
and not
class.
made the whole damn year
Stop
about
it.
himself.
The whole year wasn't about himself. How many
Of
press
course it
conferences
was.
did he hold during the year? Did he go to every city and hold a press conference talking about how great he was? No, he never talks about himself. He's a selfless guy. And you're trying to make this year all about himself? No. Was he demanding the media talk about him? Did he cut ESPN a check? Here's $1 million. Talk about me all year.
Yeah, well, you
This
know
is
how you get
ridiculous.
them to not talk about you all year? You don't announce your retirement.
What's
in
wrong
March.
with that? How many players do that?
Not many.
Yes, a lot of them do.
Not many.
Not
Not
Bobby-
many
not
players
Bobby
do that
Abreu, but
because
everybody
not many
else.
players get
Not
to
Bobby
tell
Abreu.
everyone when they're going to retire. Most players, the game tells them when they're finished. When you get to tell the
game told
game
Derek
that you're
Jeter he was
finished,
finished 3
no, it
years
didn't.
ago.
Oh, when he led the league in hits.
No, when he broke his ankle in the playoffs
was-
or did whatever to his ankle.
The
in
year
playoffs.
that was
Excuse
the
me, 2
year
years
after he
ago.
led the league in hits, Joe. At 38, he led the league in hits.
Good for him.
Do you know there was a reporter at the announcement for Bobby Abreu's retirement? And you know what the reporter asked?
Who's Bobby Abreu?
I'm sorry, who are you again?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, there's that. Second of all, the whole point with the classic thing is such a baloney narrative. If you
Oh, my
take any of the
goodness.
stuff that Derek Jeter did off the field, and he did a perfect example of this today,
Oh, okay.
and you applied it to
Today.
we'll pick a Yankee at random.
He got
A-Rod.
Oh yeah, that really
random.
sounds random.
Yeah, oh, no, it was not at
super
random at all.
random.
It was not at random at all.
Picking a Yankee at random would have been Juan Miranda,
Well,
not
hold
Alex
on. I'm
Rodriguez.
gonna it wasn't at random.
Okay.
It was a sarcastic random.
Picking a Yankee at random.
Have you
Mike-
noticed that when we've done this, Joe has never bought a cup of coffee with him before until today?
My
that's a
point
good point. I
is,
didn't
This
think about
man
that.
does not react very well to caffeine. I'm telling you right now.
my
There might have been
point
something
is,
else in that coffee other than
no.
coffee.
No,
Other than caffeine.
My point is,
What is your point? It's
Is
good
that-
you're finally getting into your point after 10 minutes of losing your mind.
if you take those things and you applied it to A-Rod, somebody who's hated by the media since the day he got here, before he did anything in a pinstripe uniform,
Yeah.
it would be a completely different story. The whole thing with the gift baskets and the this and the that. And today, when Jeter announced, I'm doing this whole new website for athletes to connect with fans, blah, 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 blah. Everyone looks at that and goes, good for Jeter. He's doing this, and, well, there's his
Yeah, he's-
after-thing career. If it was A-Rod who announced that, it would be, of course A-Rod would go and
But wait a
upstage
second.
the playoffs
That's
by doing
not
this. And they
his
said the same
fault.
things when he went and
That's
opted out of his
not
contract or said he
Jeter's
was going to
fault.
opt out of the
It's
contract
not
during the World
Jeter's fault
Series.
that he made an
They
announcement
yelled at
he
him
was
for
doing-
upstaging the playoffs. And it is Jeter's fault. He could have
No, it's
waited
not.
a month
He
and
made
then
an
not upstaged
announcement.
the playoffs.
It's not his
Hey.
fault. The media picks up and runs with the announcement.
Mark,
He
Joe,
couldn't- he could have
Joe
waited to
does
make the announcement.
Joe does
Why?
make a
Why?
point
Who cares?
because, I mean, Derek Jeter might have been a fine player, but he was no Benny Agbayani. I'm sorry to say that. Nobody could be a Benny Agbayani. As a matter of fact, if there was
nobody could be a
if there was
Agbayani.
anything that I used to love to hear was when the Yankees played the Mets in the World Series and
Agbayani
the
said
legend,
we'll win it in 5.
the legend.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If Timo Perez runs
No,
from
no.
second base,
Then they lose in 6.
Who's the legendary announcer?
I don't know about
The
Bob
Yankees
Oh,
won in 5,
who was it?
dude.
Bob Shepard or Bob
Bob
Murphy?
Shepard. Listening to Bob Shepard say, "Now batting, the right fielder, number 50, Benny Agbayani.
I don't think his voice
Number
was that
50.
deep.
I was gonna say.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
Bob
it was.
Shepard.
That was Bob Shepard. I know
Right.
Bob Shepard.
All right.
Well, I knew him.
Yeah.
So have you got that out of your system, Joe? Are you happy? Are you okay now?
By the way, don't we have Week 5 in the NFL coming up?
Now
No.
I almost want
it's not.
Jeter to come back and play next year to have another retirement tour just to get Joe angry again because that was fun.
I'll murder him if he comes back.
He'll murder
I'll kill him.
a guy with the 6th most hits in all of
Guys,
baseball.
we got to move this
Yes.
along because
Yeah.
Joe has to leave to go watch the Keith Olbermann show. So that's
Yeah,
something he
it's
never
aired.
misses.
It's aired already.
That was
It's aired already.
rantastic, Joe.
Thanks.
All right, Week 5 of the NFL. Mike, I finally tied you up this week. We're both 7-6. Joe was 6-7, and the anti-Jeter karma is going to come back to bite you this week, Joe. I'm telling you.
Giants, Eagles, Falcons. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
The Giants are playing the Falcons. I can't
That's right,
think
they
of
are.
Whoever, I would like to know who went to Vegas and put money on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week.
See, that's the thing. This has got me angry on Sunday. I came in here last week with the intention of picking the Buccaneers in that game,
Now,
but
why
I
didn't
chickened
you?
out.
No.
Who saw that
You're
coming
big
in
old
Pittsburgh?
chicken.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, whoever saw that coming?
Pitt Steelers aren't that good, and Mike Glenn is a good
Lovie
NFL
Smith,
quarterback.
maybe?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think Lovie Smith. I don't think you could have convinced Lovie Smith of that. But anyway,
Week
5. Only
Thursday.
2 teams on bye this week: Oakland and Miami.
Who needs to be on a
Thursday? Yeah, first Thursday. Excuse me. First game of the week, obviously Thursday night at 8:30 at Lambeau Field. The Minnesota Vikings coming off a surprising victory over the Atlanta Falcons, surprising to everyone but me because I picked them. At Green Bay Packers and Lambeau Field. Now, do you think the Vikings can sustain that momentum from this victory? Because they might not even have Teddy Bridgewater for this game, Joe.
No. Green Bay had a great game Sunday. They're going to keep it on a roll. They're going to win.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is back. It's Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like Green Bay in this game.
All right.
Green Bay's probably Green Bay looked good one week, bad one week, but I think they'll break that spell. They win this game. Chicago at Carolina, the first 1 o'clock game we're going to talk about on October 5th. Chicago at Carolina. Did I say Houston? My mistake. Chicago at Carolina. Chicago off a horrible performance and traveling to Bank of America Stadium to play the Panthers, Mike.
Oh, I see Chicago coming back. I don't like what's going on with the Carolina defense right now or the Carolina offense. Things are not happening for the Panthers the way they thought they would, and I'm picking the Bears.
I think the Bears are going to rebound
you gotta
after
pick
last
'em?
week. No. I think the Bears
okay.
are going to win this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to rebound.
Mark?
Marcus.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling to remember what Carolina did last week. They got blown
Yeah,
out
it
by
doesn't
Baltimore.
Yeah,
I mean-
they're just not looking good right now,
Well, this is-
especially defensively.
This is a game between two teams that looked terrible last week, guys. And Chicago and Carolina, both of them just looked awful in what were big games for them.
But I trust Chicago's weapons to come back over Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Without much of a running game, and then Chicago coming in still with Forte and Cutler, and they have Bennett, who's been fantastic this year. I mean, he's been maybe the most dangerous weapon they have on that offense, guys.
9 catches, 165 yards in a loss last week for a tight end.
That's pretty good.
And came that close to a touchdown in the last play of the half, which might have been a momentum-turning play in that game.
By the way,
Hey,
people,
he's
you're
no Larry
listening.
Donnell.
What Mark
You
did?
are.
Mark brought his fingers really, really close, but didn't touch them. So that's what he meant by this close.
Yeah.
Well, everyone out there who saw that should know exactly what I meant. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm taking Chicago. Really muddled divisions there, those two, the NFC North, NFC South. Kind of up in the air because Detroit you never know about in the North, and then you've got Green Bay and Chicago, kind of Minnesota, and then you look at the South, which is so up and down. You've got Carolina's 2-2, Atlanta's 2-2, looked horrible against Minnesota. The Saints are 1-3, and the Buccaneers coming out of nowhere all of a sudden look like they might be a team to deal with.
It's going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. The Saints will arrive in 2014.
Yeah? Well,
it just hasn't happened yet.
I think they need to do it pretty quickly.
Oh, no,
Everyone
you're
says
right.
the thing that always gets me angry is people say, "Oh, it's a long season." Football season is the opposite of a long season, and these teams need to get together quickly. They don't have months like the baseball teams do. Cleveland at Tennessee. Cleveland coming off a bye week in this one, visiting the Tennessee Titans. Mike,
I'm going to say Tennessee. Even though I liked what Hoyer's been doing this year so far. I'm going to go with the Titans.
I'm going with Cleveland. Tennessee has been terrible.
Yeah, they have.
yeah, I'm with you, George. Tennessee has looked so bad, and Cleveland, I think they keep it rolling. And plus, you consider the fact they're coming off of a bye week, which has to help their cause. They're getting Ben Tate back, which I'm not sure, which counts for something at least. Yeah, I think.
So number one back.
Yeah, I think Cleveland wins this game.
Counts for
I
something.
mean, think about that. Cleveland Browns, all of a sudden in that thick of that division race, at least in the wild card race. I don't know if anyone's
Well,
going to catch
after the way
Cincinnati.
Pittsburgh looked at home, Sure, they're right in the thick of this race.
For sure. St. Louis at Philadelphia. Your boy Austin Davis, Mike,
Austin
going
Powers.
to face the Philadelphia Eagles, Joe. You think the Eagles? You think that any hangover from their last game against the 49ers because their offense looked horrible in that game?
No, I think they get right back on the horse in this one.
Offensive line play is too good. The Rams are hurting at the defensive line. I'm going with the Eagles.
Nick Foles has looked terrible this year in 4 games. He hasn't had a single game where he's looked like the quarterback he was last year. And St. Louis, granted, they blew that 21-point lead in their last game. They're coming off a bye week. Austin Davis looked good in that game against the Cowboys, and the Eagles' defense is not that much better than the Cowboys' defense. I'm taking St. Louis for the upset on the road. Their defense is going to be able to do some things to Philadelphia. What is up with LaShawn McCoy this year, guys?
At the link, huh?
He wants to kill everyone's fantasy team.
I'm so glad I don't have him on any of mine. But yeah, I mean, 10 carries for 17 yards against San Francisco.
That's bad.
That is really bad. Next game is a game I will be at this Sunday. Atlanta at the New York Giants. Atlanta up and down, up and down. Giants right now just up, Mike.
I think you got to go with the Giants only because the Falcons' defense is showing more weakness than we thought they had.
And plus, you have to remember the Falcons losing 2 offensive linemen probably for the year coming into this game.
What was it during the game? Late in the game, one of the announcers said that a tight end was playing tackle for the Falcons.
Trey Lolo.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even notice that.
That's how short ended they are there. But not only that, but you look at the way that the Giants' offense has looked the last 2 weeks, and then you look at the numbers for the Atlanta defense. They're ranked 25th against the pass, 27th against the run.
Yeah, much weaker than I thought the Falcons were going to be this year defensively.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And now Douglas is going to be out too offensively.
That's right.
So one of their key weapons is going to be out too.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm taking the Giants on this one. Giants at home, playing really well. By the way, I tallied this up a couple of days ago. We are 13-12 this year on games where we all go the same way.
Well,
we all
there
pick
you
the
go.
same team.
All right.
So we're
barely above 500.
Barely above 500.
Yeah.
All right, Tampa Bay coming off a huge upset against New Orleans, coming off a huge letdown. Which of these teams continues in the direction that... Did both these teams continue the direction they showed last week, Mike?
This is the week that finally Drew Brees, Colston, and Graham help me on my fantasy team, and they will finally arrive to 2014 this week.
Well, Graham got you a touchdown last week.
No, but it's not the yardage that he usually gets. I'm going with the Saints.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, I agree that the teams are going to go in the opposite directions. I think the Tampa Bay is going to have a little bit of a hangover from that win against Pittsburgh, and I think New Orleans is finally going to kick it into another gear.
Yeah, the thing about New Orleans is, regardless of how bad they are, like if they had a season where they went 4-12, they'd probably still go 4-4 at home. And this is a home game against Tampa Bay team. I think that crowd is going to fluster that Bucs offense. Defense is not that good. Yeah, Saints should win this game by a couple touchdowns. They still should be the Saints offensively, at least. Maybe not defensively. Joe, we talked about Rob Ryan last week, who looks like he's on his way out of yet another gig.
Yep.
Buffalo at Detroit. Buffalo with new quarterback Kyle Orton at the helm. Any way Orton does any better than A.J. Manuel, Joe, with this team?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I'm done picking Buffalo. Detroit's going to win this one. I don't think Orton is very good, and apparently Manuel wasn't very good either, despite my continued faith in him.
Kyle Orton quarterbacking against the Detroit defensive line. Detroit by at least 12.
You think Detroit wins it by a couple touchdowns?
At least.
I think that's a fair point. Buffalo's defense, though, is not bad. They have a decent defense, but going on the road, and what's the situation with Calvin Johnson? Are they going to have him this week? He played, half their snaps last week?
You know what?
But yeah, this
even without Calvin Johnson,
I agree.
Detroit
Even without
runs away
Johnson,
with this.
Detroit's good enough to win this game. I mean, they got a little bit lucky against the Jets last week.
Yeah, real quick, Mark, to your point. Yeah, sure. Buffalo's defense hasn't been playing that bad, but when you're going to be turning it over, and you're always constantly defending from your own side of the of the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
You only have 20 yards to go because they're going to do that. Kyle Orton and Buffalo are going to turn it over quite a bit to Detroit.
Yeah, I'm with you. All of us on Detroit in that one. Baltimore at Indianapolis. This will be, I think, one of the most interesting games of the day. Andrew Luck going against this Ravens team that blew Carolina out of the water last week, and now looks like a team that might be able to challenge the Bengals in that division if they continue to play that way. I mean, this will be a telling game for one of these teams.
Okay.
Mike, who do you think it's going to be?
Well, for the audience, I'm going to do like Mark did. I'm going to take my fingers and come
put 'em
really
that
close.
close.
I say the game's going to be very close, this close.
That close.
But by a field goal.
His fingers are really close.
Because he's so good in the fourth quarter. Andrew Luck, the Colts by a field goal.
Yep, this is the year of Andrew Luck so far in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Colts.
Really? They started 0-2.
Have you seen what he's done
Against Tennessee and Jacksonville?
last couple weeks? Look, the same Jacksonville team that shut out Philadelphia for a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is it.
We're all in agreement a lot this week, guys, because I like Indianapolis too in this one. Lucas Oil Stadium, Andrew Luck. Yeah, I'm personally I'm with you. I just wanted to throw a wrench into your argument. That's all.
Okay. Very nice.
But yeah, Andrew Luck might be the best quarterback in the NFL right now. If not, he's probably top 10. He's an elite quarterback, which is funny. It took Eli how long to get there, even after he won a Super Bowl. Luck, though, comes to ability. Few with more.
Yeah, it took him until almost his second Super Bowl for him to become an elite quarterback, Eli.
That would put the Colts at 3-2 moving forward. Pittsburgh at Jacksonville. Blake Bortles did not look bad against San Diego. Yes, they lost, but Bortles had his moments, Joe. I mean, what do you think? Do you think this Pittsburgh defense, which is not that good, is going to be able to give him trouble?
Boy, that's a tough question. Bortles did look good. Oh,
I told you, Mike. I told you that was a tough question. He didn't believe
it was a tough question.
No, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in Jacksonville. Bortles did look good, but Pittsburgh looks so awful. This is a tough one. Pick 'em. No, Jacksonville. Jacksonville
that
to
joke
pull
is
it
never
off.
Going to go away.
Their first win of the year.
Joe, we agree once again. I like Jacksonville in this game. This Pittsburgh team just continues to baffle everyone.
They lost to Tampa Bay. They could lose.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay's not a decent team. With Mike Glennon could win 5 games.
No, do you mean that they are a decent team?
Well, Mike Glennon could win 5 games this year for them, but that's not a good team. Is not 5 games. Exactly. Yeah. They're not a horrible team. Yeah.
Jacksonville is not.
This is a very confusing game to pick. I don't even know how you guys came to because we don't know what Pittsburgh team's going to show up.
I threw a dart at the wall.
You know, the Pittsburgh team that a couple of weeks ago looked like they were going to go, you know, they went 2-1 and were going to take over the division. And then the team last week that looked horrible against what I feel, or what we all feel, were 2 of the worst teams were Jacksonville and Tampa Bay. And yet Tampa Bay goes into Pittsburgh, wins this game. I might go with you guys.
All right.
I might go with you guys, and I think I'm going to lean towards Jacksonville.
Is this 4 in a row that we've all picked the same team?
It's at least 4. Well,
I gotta tell you, we're going to be very close in our record.
We picked the Giants. We all picked the Giants. We all picked New Orleans. We all picked Detroit. We all picked Indy. And now we're Mike. You're not picking Jacksonville, are you?
Yes,
I'm
going to
lean
pick Jacksonville.
That's 5 out of the games so far that we've all picked the same.
We also all picked Green Bay, and we all picked. We did not all pick Cleveland, but did we all pick Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
7 games we all picked the same.
We're gonna have to start breaking.
So this is going to come down to just a couple of
few
games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that record and all teams we all picked the same will fluctuate this year. And I also want to mention when Joe says he threw a dart at the wall, I'm not sure what that had to do with this game because his dart hit a picture of Derek Jeter. Houston at Dallas.
No, that one's the bullseye.
Houston at Dallas, the final 1:00 game, and I need a few minutes here because that was a huge win for my Cowboys. And Mike actually said he gives them credit, which I thought was beyond him after the way he downplayed their win over St. Louis the week before. That was a huge win for the Cowboys in New Orleans in the game. A lot of people not only thought they would lose, but get blown out in.
This is a
Both
Cowboy
of these teams
team
3-1 at AT&T Stadium.
That is surprising me. They're really surprising me, the Cowboys. They're doing things that nobody expected them to be able to do. This is going to be a great game. The battle for Texas is going to be dynamite.
No Jadeveon Clowney definitely hurts the Texans.
I'm going to go with the Texans.
Ooh. I'm just going to pick against Mark's team.
Yeah,
so I'm going with
fair.
the Texans.
That's fair. I think you guys all know who I'm picking in this game. I think this Cowboys team... I think they'll be able to. They're not facing Drew Brees this week, which is a huge plus. And Arian Foster's looked like a shell of himself a couple times this week, including last week when he had like 6 carries for 8 yards or something.
But Houston was able to bounce back from that Giants loss.
Yep. And I think J.J. Watt is going to wreak havoc with Tony Romo.
Yes.
Really? Even with that Cowboys super good offensive line?
Yeah.
Even with DeMarco Murray? See, I think the Cowboys have the weapons to offset anything J.J. Watt can do. I think their defense will stop whatever the Texans want to do. Although DeAndre Hopkins and Andre Johnson do make me nervous.
Very hard-hitting game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
1 o'clock. So there we go. We didn't all agree on that one. There's one that'll decide who wins this week. Arizona at Denver. Mike, your Super Bowl pick against last year's AFC Super Bowl team. Probably the best game on the Week 5 schedule. Arizona visiting Denver.
I think the best game is the one we just talked about.
Really?
I think Houston is going to be better than Arizona-Denver.
It may very well be. Two teams that are 3-1 that I think a lot of people didn't think would be anywhere near those records at any point in time in the season. But anyway, Arizona undefeated. Denver 2-1. Joe.
Denver. I don't think Arizona's for real. I mean, Drew Stanton's, once again, his magic is going to run out.
I am going.
He turns back into a pumpkin this weekend.
We're too close to Halloween for that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. I really like what I've seen so far. I do say that with trepidation because Drew Stanton's the quarterback, but I do like
against that defense.
I do like the
Against that
Arizona
offense?
Cardinals. I really do.
Yeah. Sadly, Mike, I'm going with Joe on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, this Arizona team is really good. I mean, if Carson Palmer is ever able to get back and play at a decent level, a little higher than Drew Stanton's playing at, I mean, they can challenge Seattle for that division title.
Absolutely.
But in Denver, you have to factor in the altitude here, which always hurts these visiting teams. And Patrick Peterson can do whatever he wants. Peyton Manning will just find an open receiver regardless.
Nothing affects Larry Fitzgerald.
Other than, this year something is affecting him because he's not catching a lot of passes. Yeah, Denver wins this one by a touchdown. Kansas City at San Francisco. The suddenly super hot Kansas City Chiefs against the maybe we're getting it together San Francisco 49ers. Now, is that a sign of things to come for the 49ers, guys, or just a fluky win, Mike?
I think it's a fluky win. I'm going with Kansas City.
I'm going with Kansas City as well. I have to imagine that CBS envisioned a much better game when they grabbed this one at the beginning of the season. San Fran just really, with the exception of last week against the Eagles, who looked completely lost on offense until that last drive.
So when they sort of got it together.
They kind of got it together. But obviously, San Fran showed you they've got some holes in special teams.
Yes.
They got some holes on offense that really they need to plug up. Kansas City wins. Especially with Charles.
Last week, I was the only one to pick Kansas City against the Patriots with you guys last week. This week, I'm going to be the only one who goes against them, who picks against them. I think San Francisco wins this game. I think they still have all the talent. I think they get it together and win. San Francisco at 3-2. New York Jets at the San Diego Chargers. Everyone's still chanting for Michael Vick, guys. And Jets next 3 games: San Diego, home for Denver, at New England. And everyone's talking about Rex Ryan on the hot seat, guys, which you said, Joe, last week you didn't think was much of a thing. Do you think Rex Ryan's seat is getting hot now?
I don't think one game really changes it that much. I think maybe 3 or 4 losses in a row, and that seat gets real hot real fast.
They've had 3 losses in a row now.
Well, I mean, a loss this week and next week, and you're getting really hot.
This week and next week, they play San Diego and Denver. Totally winnable games.
Well, there you go. There you go. I think it's getting warm. It isn't hot yet. I honestly don't really foresee Rex Ryan going anywhere.
All right.
For the time being.
All right.
Good
Mike,
change up.
Well, who do you like in this game, though? At San Diego.
San Diego.
All right.
Phillip Rivers. I wouldn't bet against him right now.
Yeah.
And the Jets are spiraling out of control.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Ryan might not make it to the end of October.
Well, we already had our first coach fired, Dennis Allen of the Oakland Raiders. We won't get to talk about that this week because they're on a bye, but Tony Soprano will be their coach
Good luck with that.
Or when they arrive in wherever they're going to be at week 60. I'm with you guys, San Diego all the way.
Yeah.
Cincinnati at New England, the Sunday night game, and NBC is probably getting a little nervous about the Sunday nighter considering how poorly New England performed. New England falling apart or just a bump in the road, Joe?
Falling apart. Their great run is finally starting to come to a close.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing that. They don't have the talent around Brady that he needs to succeed, or that really any quarterback would need to succeed. They don't have it anymore. From what I'm seeing, they just don't have it. Maybe they turn it around, but boy, it's going to be a long road for them.
You know how I feel about the Bengals. I'm going Cincinnati.
Your Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
I'm taking the home dog. I think New England gets it together. They still have Bill Belichick. He'll do something to throw Andy Dalton off his game. And this is still Tom Brady at quarterback, and they're at home. Patriots are a very tough team to beat at Gillette Stadium. I just thought of this question, guys. Right now, rest of the season, who do you take, Brady or Eli?
Oh, Eli.
You say Eli, Mike?
I take Eli all the time.
Pick them.
All right.
I wouldn't take either of them.
Really?
Forced to pick Eli.
Really? Yeah. No, I'd still take Brady.
I still love his
competitiveness. All right. Maybe the easiest game to pick on the slate: Seattle at Washington. Mike, do you still love Kirk Cousins? That's all we want to know.
4 picks last week.
I think Kirk Cousins is still a good fit for the Redskins. Oh, I'm sorry, FCC. Did I say that? Did I say that? You guys did hear that, right?
What?
The
Redskins?
FCC is
Yes,
considering
I did hear that.
fining radio and television stations if they use the word Redskins.
Well, it's good to see they're not abusing their power.
Well, look, here's
That's the only
on that
attention.
topic. Look, I don't like that's what they use as their name. I think they should change the name. But two things. One, does the FCC have nothing better to do
Yeah.
than weigh in on this? And two, who decided it was the FCC's power to determine that?
Yeah.
It's not. It's a way overreach of what the FCC is supposed to be
Well,
doing.
first of all, there are
Absolutely.
a lot of words that people say that don't like, that other people don't like. Not all of them are racial epithets or viewed as racial slurs, but when does the FCC all of a sudden start deciding that certain other things are racial slurs or that need to be fined for people saying them when they're not?
Well, at the risk of bringing politics
they always
into
say
the show,
that's what I don't want to do. I agree.
I say scrap the FCC altogether. It's run its course as far as
and
its usefulness.
my point, and I've heard people make this point, on the list of things you could do to help the Native American community, changing the Washington Redskins nickname has to be like 10,437.
Well, I like I said, I'm all for changing the nickname. I think they should change the nickname. I don't like to use the nickname. I'm in the Phil Simms category of, what, I'm just not going to say.
Okay.
After 83
And
years.
they should change it. I don't care if they've been using it for 500 years.
All right. Well, who do you like in this game? Before the show does get political.
There used to be an old restaurant, Sambo's. They changed that name.
Oh, well, that was a very racial name.
And
You didn't
Redskins, is it?
You didn't have a lot of African Americans standing next to the owner of the diner saying, "We respect you for having Sambo's," whereas Native Americans have been standing next to Dan Snyder.
All right,
with
before we open a gigantic can of worms and spend another 2 hours talking about this nickname, do we all like Seattle in this game?
Yes.
All right.
Ooh.
Yes, the fight and dance.
you like
Snyders
Seattle?
are going
Because
down.
I do like Kirk Cousins, and I know he had an off week because he looked so good
Seattle on
against
the
Philadelphia
road.
2 weeks
Seattle
before.
on the road is not necessarily Seattle at home.
No, I got to go with Seattle.
Yeah, I'm with y'all.
Yeah.
I'm taking Seattle too.
By the way, if anybody hasn't seen the season premiere of South Park, highly recommended as far as the whole Redskins nickname
I did
thing
see
goes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Imagine if Derek
Fantastic.
Jeter had played for the Redskins, how angry Joe would be. Goodness gracious. He'd have a fuse lit under his ass. That would be about to go off.
Oh,
fantastic.
that Jerry
Anyway.
Jeter, he was no Joel Youngblood.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what's your question?
What is Mike's final
All right, here we
question?
go,
I hope
guys.
it's not something about Derek Jeter.
Yeah, it better not be Jeter related. That's all I can say. That or what's your favorite Derek Jeter moment?
All right.
When
All right.
Joe's rant
Mine
right
was
now.
when he finally retired. That
Joe's-
was my favorite moment.
when the player with the sixth most hits in Major League Baseball finally
Boy,
retired.
I almost cried the way when Bud Harrelson retired. It was like, oh, Buddy Harrelson.
Al-
My favorite moment
Al
of Derek
Weiss.
Jeter's career was when he had to come out of that game against the Red Sox because he was bleeding out of his face because he stupidly dove into the stands when he didn't have to.
Yes, he did.
He could have slid.
Yeah, and blew.
He made the
and
catch in fair
he could have slid
territory.
and blew out his knee.
Here we go, guys.
That was a better
and,
idea.
and I'd have been happy if he did it.
Apparently.
Now, I wasn't really thinking about the baseball playoffs
Anyway.
with this because I'm thinking about any sport.
Okay.
But take away football, guys.
Sure.
All time. Doesn't matter what round of the playoffs it is.
Yeah.
All-time greatest Game 7. Now, I'm going to give you one here.
Yes, please.
Typically, people will think of one in like a World Series Game 7 or an NBA Final Game 7. Right now, one of my favorite Game 7s that instantly came to mind 2 years ago, 2012 NHL Playoffs first round, Game 7, Devils at the Florida Panthers.
Wow.
It was a game that
Oh, yeah.
from beginning
Pulled that
to
one out.
end, I was at the edge of my seat. It goes into overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Henrique, after we got a scare and the Panthers had almost
Yeah.
scored,
Yeah.
Adam Henrique, beautiful shot.
Mm-hmm.
Devils go on.
Super clutch. That was the entire playoff
and
run.
then
What
he
a
came up
Game
big
7.
against the Rangers.
Against the Rangers in
in
Game
the,
6,
in,
yeah.
What was it? The next series or 2 series?
Two
after?
series
2
later,
series
yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But that Panther game, Game 7 from beginning to end.
All right. For me, I'm a different sport, NBA. For me, it was the Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals. Lakers against the Boston Celtics in what was one of the maybe the greatest NBA finals I've ever watched. And the reason I said it was because I didn't get the chance to watch all of Spurs Heat a couple of years ago because I was working during a lot of that series.
Right.
But that Lakers-Celtics game, I watched that whole series, that whole Game 7 when the Celtics led for almost the entire game. Celtics led for almost the entire game. Lakers came back and stole at the end. Kobe Bryant was terrible. Somehow got the MVP award despite the fact Pau Gasol really saved their bacon in that series. That was an absolutely fantastic game, one of the greatest basketball games I've ever watched. It's a shame we can't go Game 5 because I would put Rangers-Kings this past year as maybe the greatest Game 5 I've ever watched. But Game 7, Lakers-Celtics back in 2010, that was a fantastic basketball game.
If you're looking for Game 5s, NBA, when was it when Dikembe Mutombo led the Nuggets, the 8th seed?
Yeah, I do. Yes, very true.
When they beat I can't remember who the number 1 seed was.
I have a feeling I already know where Joe's going here.
Go ahead, Joe.
I don't know. Because the thing is, I can think of all these. I'm thinking of all these series-ending games,
right?
But
they're not Game 7s.
Not that they're not Game 7s, but I don't remember if they're Game 7s or not. That's really the worst thing. I'm thinking, okay, well, how about that Cardinals game from a couple of years ago? No, that was a Game 6.
One we left out was Indians Marlins back in '97.
Right. And of course '91 Twins and Braves.
That's where I thought you were going, Mike.
That's exactly what I was building up right there. On my phone was to look up and see if that was a Game 7 or not.
Yes, it was.
I thought you were going to go Yankees Diamondbacks in 01.
That was a
even as a fan who was heartbroken by that game, as I'm sure you were, Mike. It'd be impossible not. That was a fantastic game. Schilling, Clemens, that was great.
That was a fantastic game. Game 7 of the 04 ALCS.
Well, it wasn't really a great game.
It was a nice one if you were rooting for the Red Sox to overcome the Yankees in that.
He's
big
just a Yankee hater.
That's why I thought you were going to go.
Hater.
And how could we leave out Yankees Red Sox in 03?
Yeah, Yankees Red Sox 03. That was another great Game 7 as well. Because of the Aaron Boone incident. Of course, Aaron Boone is the reason why you now have A-Rod coming back as your starting third baseman for next season.
Well, sometimes people make mistakes, Joe.
Well, it's all right. You leave one aging over the hill left side of the infielder, and you get another.
He was over the hill. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yes.
All right, that is it for this week on the Sports Station. I am Mark and Sarah. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, check us out on Facebook.
Oh.
And we'll be back next week to go over our picks once again. Hopefully we'll have a slightly less angry Joe Vasile along with us.
It's been one of those days.
A less caffeinated Joe Vasile. Maybe would be a better way to put it.
It's not the caffeine that did it. I'm usually very caffeinated.
Okay.
It's more just, it's Wednesday,
All right. We'll have a great week of college football. I think there are 6 games between ranked teams in the college football world. We'll be back here to talk about that. Fantastic week of college football. NFL games and more MLB playoff talks. We'll probably be previewing the ALCS and NLCS when we come back next week, so we look forward to that. But in the meantime, I am Mark and Sarah for Joe Vasile, for Mike Eccles. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Sports Station.